Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke, and it is now the 15th of August. It's another no makeup day for me, so I hope I don't look too tired on this camera. Good morning, Alex. It's another, I think it's going to be, and good morning, Joanne. I think it's going to be a little more humid today. I'm looking outside and it's kind of had this, at least here it's kind of got this misty white over the colors of the sunrise, which usually indicates there's like another kind of, I don't want to say marine layer, that sounds like something out of Los Angeles, right? But it's just, there's just something, there's a little bit of humidity in the air, and so it's kind of turning the sky that kind of whitish color. But I think next week's going to be better as far as that goes. We did have a couple really, really nice days. And it's not that the weather's not nice now, but it's just a little, you can tell it's a little more humid. So anyway, there's my weather report for the morning. Okay, so last night, today what I'm going to talk about today is I'm actually just going to do some readings today. That's kind of what I've gotten to do. I know I have what I call them wild card days, but I think sometimes, I don't know, I might do more of those because I think it's actually a good way to let the topic get picked while I'm actually doing the live stream. And then that way people who tune in for the reading portion of it, that's kind of the whole, more of the episode. And again, just to repeat for anybody who hasn't been, I think as of next Monday, after the full moon Monday, I'm going to actually switch to a 7 a.m. start time with this. And I'm going to make a little thing and post it on Instagram to remind people. But I'm going to switch to 7 just because it's now starting to get darker in the mornings. I think now the sun comes up at about, it'll be probably about 6:15 by the time we get into it, so I want that. But the other little piece of news, I've been contacted by Brains Magazine to do an editorial piece for them on wellness and health, and so I got contacted by the editors today. I do know Lana of Psychosomatic Alchemy has also, I don't know if she's written for them or if she's just been published in there, I can't remember. She told me a couple years ago about it. So, so we'll see what that turns out to be. I got a couple emails from their editorial team this morning, so if that ends up getting posted, I will tell you more about that. So that would be like a cool opportunity, I think. And so what else came up? I was about to talk about last night. Okay, so last night, I like I said, I've been having, I feel like this is as real week, but it's also because I've had, it's just the messages have been coming in fast and furious, and they're not, well, there's a personal aspect to them, but they're not, what the ramifications of them are not personal. Like I said, there's a piece of it that's personal, and that's the piece I kind of don't share with people because it's something I'm still figuring out myself. But also there's a piece that is, we're talking a lot about the angelic realm, and it's like just stuff that's coming up, more and more questions are coming up. So last night I went to sleep and I had a dream. Well, I thought, it was really, I had an out-of-body experience is what I had, which by the way is like everything else is incredibly unusual for me. I don't tend to be an out-of-body person. I tend to be very much right here. And so the idea that I would be, what it was we've had the Perseid meteor showers this week, right? We've had all those coming through, and I had this vision of, because I just because of the way the skies are, I haven't really been able to see them. I haven't been in a good position. A lot of times in my house, like I said, I have skylights up here and I have things. I've been able to watch eclipses from my, just sitting in my room looking up at the window. I usually have a pretty good view, although the light pollution in this area seems to be getting a little bit worse. We're out in a kind of more of a rural area, but in any case, there's some days, like that's why one of the things I love about winter is that the skies are usually so clear that I actually have a better view of things. Not a probably mountains of Utah kind of good, but it's good. And So I saw the Perseid. I was seeing these things, and I was thinking, oh, good, I'm finally getting to see them. But I realized, have you ever been on an airplane and you've been, when they hit cruising altitude at 36,000 feet, and you look out and it's like it could have been pissing down rain like down where you were, but then you're up in this space where the clouds are down here, and it's just, you can just see that blue sky, and if there's like the sun coming up, you can kind of see some of the colors come up and stuff like that. It was kind of like being in that space and being able to watch the Perseids, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not watching this. And that was kind of the way I felt. Now, I don't remember everything about what happened when I was out of body, but I don't know, there's something. I also had a vision of the Eight of Cups card in the Tarot Oscuro, which I know I've shown on this channel before, so it's not new. I do have the deck right here. This is one of my, this is a rather jarring kind of a deck. So if you're somebody who likes, kind of sweet, more pastoral imagery, this is not the deck for you. But I had a vision of the Eight of Cups, and it was in this deck, which again, just for illustrative purposes, I'll show it to you if I can find it in here. I had a vision of that card in my mind, and you'll understand why that's. Oh, here it is. It's kind of the woman who's kind of moving up, but there's all of these kinds of things, tree branches that are almost like hands that are pulling her back down. Okay. And that's kind of, I think, almost how I felt. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm trying to go up, and I'm being like, there's something that wants to pull me back down. So yeah, it was interesting. What entirely it means, I won't spend this live stream trying to speculate on that, because there's just some very, like I said, this has been a very interesting week. But what I did get on this was, they said, well, this is happening right now. Like, the reason that this is happening this week has a lot to do with the astrology I talked about. It's the Grand Cross astrology, and particularly the fact that it's a full moon in Aquarius. So I had been talking, and I talked about this a little bit on Catonia, but Azrael was talking about the pairings of aeons, right? Which is something that they talk about in Gnosticism, okay? The idea that things come in pairs. And I asked him, I said, because it sounds to me almost like there could be an infinite number of aeon pairs. He's like, no, there's not an infinite number. And I said, well, about how many are there? And basically he said there are 22 pairs. And I said, okay, so I said, are you saying that there's 22 in the sense of there's 22 aeon angels total? Or is it like 44, like, 22 pairs? He's like, no, it's 22 pairs, so it's 44. And I thought about the number 22, and I said, that does correspond to some degree. I don't know that it's a one-to-one correspondence. I said, but I'm wondering if the energies of the tarot, like 0 through 21, which are 22, major arcana cards. I said, does the energies of those 22, could you make a correspondence between that and the 22 pairings of aeons? And he said, yes, you can. And I said, well, what pairing do you belong to? And basically it was like the Tower Star pairing. Okay. So it was just like, I was just thinking major arcanas. Yeah, exactly. When you think 22 and you're a reader, that's like the first thing you think of. You're like, oh yeah, 22. It makes sense. And so he was saying that he's more of the tower energy, and his aeonic pair is more like, it's kind of like the Tower Star. It's like they kind of roll into each other, because their work all kind of like moves together. It's not like, okay, this is you and then this is you. It's kind of like they all just kind of flow into each other, if that makes any sense. And so, and because the star is Aquarius energy, and we are moving into an Aquarius full moon. So for whatever reason, this is the time, like there's like going to be, he's saying there's going to be a kind of a dissolution followed by this sudden opening up, like this new period opening up. And I'm actually, Maka has been giving me, because I also channel Morgan, she's also been giving me almost exactly the same message. She's kind of taking it from a different perspective, but she's like, yeah, there's going to be this opening up. There's going to be this opening up. There's going to be, you have to wait for it. There's going to be this opening up. When it opens up, it could be a little, you might think you have a little strength, could be a little shocking, but then once it opens up, then everything's going to be clear and everything's going to be harmonious. And, so that was kind of the feeling, like we're reaching kind of this tension point where things are going to change. So the other thing that he had said about that, though, I said to him, well, okay, so he's often referred to as the angel of death. And I said, are you the angel, when people, because the understanding that people have is like, okay, that when people die, like they'll say, oh, I'm Azrael. Azrael's come to, claim the soul or whatever. He said, no, that's not what I do. He said, I have more to do. He said the actual angel of death is Samael. He said Samael is the one who would would come at that point. He said his job is kind of more like when you have people who will not make the change. Like I said, he's got that tower energy to him, so he's more like the one who comes in. He's the universe that comes in. Like, you know how we always say that, you can change it or the universe is going to change it for you. Like, he's the universe changing it for you. I guess that's the best way to put it. And he will come in and he will, forcibly break the connection. Again, he said, he's not an uncompassionate being. He's like, but if I need to be fierce about it, then I am, because that's just, you just got to do. Angels do what they've got to do. They don't, they don't have personal choice in the same way that we do as humans. So they have to. It's just kind of like, oh, this is just what has to be done, and I'm going to do it, and that's it. And so, it's interesting. So when you're dealing with that, is kind of an earth thing. It's not like the angels make a decision. It's just like, nope, this is the thing that needs to be done. And and I think sometimes when they're working with humans towards whatever they're doing, there's a kind of a sense of, well, you have to, they want to make sure that you're not going to choose something other than what you're supposed to do. Because I was kind of hearing whatever it is that this is about, which I don't, and again, I'm not pretending I fully understand that, or maybe that I even should talk about that, but whatever it is, it's just kind of like there's something to be done and make sure you do it. It's like that kind of a thing. Okay. So yeah, so it's just, so I've been getting a lot of messages like that, like over and over and over again, and literally messages that keep saying like courage, 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 courage. And I'm like, okay, if you're telling me to have courage, then that's kind of actually freaking me out a little bit, because I'm like, what exactly is going to unfold in the next few days? Because if it's something, I've seen a lot. It's hard for me to look at something and be horrified or pushed out. It's just I just tend to kind of roll with whatever's going on. There's things that go on in society and so forth that anger me or that upset me or whatever, but it's not. I'm also kind of well aware that in the bigger system of things, these kind of things go on, So, I don't know. Anyway, I guess we're still to be determined what's going to happen with all of that, right? Okay, so, anyway, so that's kind of the Azrael update for today. And I did make some notes. Yeah, that was this morning's message. It was just kind of like, it was connected to that. Into that energy. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that he had said in the last couple of days, but yeah, he seems very much. Basically, it's kind of like, okay, the other piece of it that he had was talking about Katmi, which I think is like this kind of divided energy. He said there has to be an emptying of divided energy. In other words, there has to be whatever divisions. We have been living in a divided world probably since 2008, if not before. Certainly it's been building up to it. And we can talk about this politically, economically, socially. We definitely live in a world now where we kind of feel like where people are divided. And again, you could talk about American politics and so forth, but it's not just American politics. You see this throughout the world. You see people kind of taking this turn to this very fierce, like hard right kind of a stance, or you see people coming into this, you're either with me or you're against me kind of stance. And if you say anything that's against my thing, then like you're the enemy. Like there's been that sense of we're not helping each other, we're not working together, and the energy here, he's just kind of like, no, like that energy has to stop. Like that's part of that narrative he was talking about, what he called the Metatron narrative. He said, that's got to stop. That's got to stop. And that's got to be like, blown up, basically. It's got to, and that's kind of the thing. And so, and I guess it kind of, on an individual level, I say, okay, well, the stuff I do with Katonia, the kind of individual work that I do here with transition life coaching, which is not always easy for me to explain to people, because when you're trying to explain what you're doing, that's a little bit different. Because a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm a wellness practitioner, I'm a light worker, and I'm this and I'm that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not just about, obviously you want people to feel good at the end of things. You want people to feel at peace with themselves. You want people, that's really what I want people to get to for themselves, to a place of your own authenticity, whatever it is that you feel you're called to do, not what I think you should do. Who cares what I think? It's just kind of like, what do you think you should be? What do you think you should be doing? If you're feeling at a place where you're lost and stuck and you're like, okay, I'm not really even sure how to determine the next direction, then that's the kind of work that I do. It's like, okay, well, let's sit down and, like I said, between the healing practices that can open up the heart. A lot of times all it is really what a good spiritual coach. I'm not a light worker. No. Well, no, Joanne, no, I didn't know, but that's how we know each other, right? Because we deal more in that kind of energy that's more about sovereignty and independence and kind of, exploding things, so to speak, rather than just trying to, gloss over and just create this one kind of narrative because, I think that's one of the things that's drawn me to Rouhani. I've been hearing more about this divine feminine more this week than ever before, interestingly, from people I haven't expected it from. That's interesting. Yeah, there's something about the energy right now that is... because like I said on the other podcast, I kept hearing even back in like May and June, I was hearing like the phrase like Lilith's harvest or Lilith's gathering. It's like there's something, and probably because I work in that energy very actively, Katonia is about trying to educate people on the dark feminine, like why the dark feminine is not the evil feminine, like why this is an energy that you need to stop fighting with, but one that you need to figure out. You need to understand its role. It's like any kind of soul energy like that, any kind of feminine, masculine soul energy is something that if you understand it and know how to work with it, it can be your friend and it can help you. If you're fighting against it all the time, then it's going to be the bane of your existence. And why do that? Like, learning about what your own soul energy is, learning about being able to work, rather than you constantly having to feel like you have to stuff down and fight and force away things, which is what leads people to close their hearts off and just say, everybody, piss off, I don't trust anybody. It's what allows you to open up and be you and speak your truth, understanding that there's always going to be people who are not going to like what you're going to do, but whatever. I mean, you still have to kind of, if everybody's just living in their own little box, then, nothing's happening. It's like at the ocean, every wave on the ocean just decided that, yeah, sorry, we're not crashing on the shore together. We're all separate now. Like, it doesn't, it's like living in this illusion and everybody is just miserable and hates each other as a result of it. So it's kind of like, no, you need to understand. It's like people make a lot of talk about shadow work, and I'm like, well, yeah, okay, it is a kind of shadow work, and shadow work is hard. People don't want to do shadow work. People don't want to do it. They just don't want to say, people want to go and be reassured that everything's going to be okay, and honestly, everything probably will be okay, but. It's almost like knowing, like, okay, if I have this surgery or if I have this procedure, after it's done, there's going to be a time for, that part of it might not be pleasant, and then it's got to heal. But after that, I'm going to be fine, right? I mean, you want to use that metaphorically. It's kind of like, okay, let's find where the blockages are. Let's find where things are not right. Let's find where something maybe has grown that is actually toxic to us. And how do we address it? And sometimes you have to address it. Like if you think about cancer patients and the fact that they have to have almost like a poison that actually kills the other poison, right? I mean, sometimes you need something to sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, I guess is what I'm saying. And, but again, everybody's different. And as a coach, my whole goal is just to say, okay, I want to help you get to a point where you figured it out, not where I'm telling you. When people talk to me, I will give feedback about what I hear and what empathetically I feel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you're going to end up or that I'm going to tell you the right way. Or, I sometimes have to be careful because sometimes people will go through something and I think, oh yeah, I've been through that and this is what I did. But that doesn't mean that's what they're going to do. So anyway, I was going to pull some cards for this morning. I'm going to start with my Cartouche deck, my Egyptian deck, because they're right in front of me here. And let's see what we've got here. Here, we've got our Divine Feminine right off. We've got Isis first thing, all right? So what do we have here? Yeah, so we have Isis as our first card. And Isis, of course, is that kind of therapy I hate when people say, I have to give the answer. Yeah, well, that's just it. A lot of times, and we've talked about that, I think, before, Joanna, like where it's kind of like when there's a kind of transference there, it's almost like people are looking to you like the parent figure who's going to tell them what to do. And I'm like, it's not my job to tell you what to do. I mean, I can suggest something. I can say, well, you could think about doing this, or if I was in your position, this is what I would do, but that doesn't mean that's the right thing for you to do. The whole point is for you to get to, the right tools to make the right decision for you, right? So we're starting with this divine feminine energy right off. And in this divine feminine energy, Isis energy is about nurturing and care. It is about, because in order to care for yourself, you kind of have to work through that energy of rage or of betrayal or of whatever the wounds are. It's about caring for your wounds, really, okay? And it's about healing, because Isis has a strong healing vibe to it as well. This card could be akin to a certain degree to either the Empress or the High Priestess in terms of its energy, because it does have that aura of kind of what's behind the veil. But it also has that sense of mother energy. And mother energy is very complex. We always think of mother energy as kind of, Madonna and child kind of energy, the mother and child, image. That is part of it. Certainly the idea of the mother who nurtures. But think about also like the mother who protects, like the mother bear, who if you touch one of her cubs, she's gonna, rip you to pieces. I think RFK Jr. was pretty darn lucky when, I heard his story about how he got this bear cub that that was a roadkill, and he was gonna eat it, and he left it in Central Park. I don't know. Anyway, very weird story. But in any case, I've known people who have who've seen like accidentally hit a bear cub with their car. My sister actually had said that she had heard about this when she was living in like the wilds of Pennsylvania, like in the mountains. She said, that somebody had accidentally hit the bear cub and had gotten out, but then heard the mother bear coming and went and hid in the woods. And it was smart that they did that, because when the bear saw its cub dead, it picked up the guy's car and it smashed it to pieces. If he had been in the car, so he also would have been smashed to pieces. So there's that kind of protective mother energy too. But there's, and as we know, the feminine, that's the other podcast. It's a very, very complex thing. But our point of interest here is Crook and Flail. So Crook and Flail is about stepping into power and authority, okay? It's a card of self-confidence. It can be a card of self-discipline, okay? But this is about visibility, like a raise in status. Crook and Flail tells us that, the recognition. So, okay, to put these two together, this is kind of like recognition of the feminine, right? Recognition of the authority of the feminine, okay? And its role in its raising its status, because right now it kind of tends to have second class status. This is kind of the way that we exist in this society, is that things like, again, even among people who are very, very sensible people, well, we're only going to deal in rationality and non-emotion and this and that. It's like that stuff is all considered to be kind of like, that's the yucky stuff of humanity that we don't want to deal with. No, that's part of who you are. And that should be incorporated into your decision making. It should be incorporated into your whole way of being, because it's part of you. Yeah, and the factor to be considered here, okay, so we have Buckle of Isis now. Now, Buckle of Isis is supposed to have kind of a yoni type energy too. We usually think of the yoni as the upside down triangle. And I did see that in my Azrael session the other day. And I saw it was the letter Ge in, what was it, in Enochian, they don't like the name Enochian, but anyway, I think they call it, they call the language Abagaku, something like that. Anyway, that's what the angels call Enochian. In any case, it was in that language, it was it's this weird kind of, it's supposed to be the letter Ge, G, we spell it G-E-H, or that's the way we phonetically say it. And it's usually a G or a J. But the word kept coming, it was Gizyaks, which is earthquakes, which is the idea of the earth that shakes, okay? And that we associate earth shaking with what? Like Poseidon energy, things like that. Water, the tumult of the emotions. This is about what, emptying something out. This is about the work that we put into something and the reward that comes after it, okay? And sometimes, usually on the most spiritual level, Buckle of Isis means a separation. We're separating from some other kind of a path and the difficulties that may be associated with that separation. Because this is almost supposed to be like a idea of childbirth, of the idea of birthing something new. And as you birth something new, again, I've never had children, but trust me, I know enough people who have, and I know I know how the whole process works. I have the moving parts. I know how the process works. And having children is it's an absolutely there's a lot of suffering that goes along with having a child. Sometimes people are lucky and they have like pregnancies with no problem, but the whole process of labor and giving birth, if you're going to do things, can be very traumatic and very, very hard on the body. So it's a sacrifice that you're making to create something new. If you understand what I'm saying, that's the energy of Buckle of Isis. So that's the factor. A lot of the things we've been going through right now has been to, break connections we don't need, to clear space for things, to put the work into something. And maybe it's like, if you haven't seen the results yet, it's like that Seven of Pentacles card in the Osho Zen deck. We want to see that energy come up. And then we have fire energy here. Okay, so fire is literally what I just said. It's kind of like burning up, like burning down what we don't need. I mean, figuratively speaking. So there's this energy of, and also of being inspired to do the right thing. And inspiration, as we talked about yesterday's reading, I had the source card, was the Ace of Wands in the Osho Zen deck. The source card, where the fire that comes up from our source, from the Kundalini, from the Shakti, from the root of what we are. That energy inspires us to do what is right for us. Oftentimes we try to make decisions on a purely intellectual level, and this is about letting kind of that fire of inspiration come in and tell you this goes, this stays, and then the decision making is clearer because it's coming from a place of inner authority. So a lot of this may be saying pay attention to your inner authority as well. If you haven't done your human design chart, people can do human design with me as part of my life path reading, but people can also do human design. I think it's jovianarchive.com is the site. You can actually go put your birth date information and stuff like you were doing an astrological chart, and you will get your own human design chart for free. And if you look at it, it will tell you, first of all, what your type is, what your energetic type is, and it's going to tell you what your inner authority is. And the only people who don't have inner authorities are reflectors. Like, they literally just reflect all the energy around them. And I have met a couple. They're very rare type. I meet a lot of projectors too. I have a lot of projectors. Those are the two types that really need to conserve their energy. Most people are what they call generators or manifesting generators. But, excuse me. But this whole energy of, what it'll tell you, though, is what your inner authority is. As your inner authority, if it's the solar plexus, then you need to listen to your emotions. That's your inner authority. Mine happens to be the sacrum because I'm manifesting generator. So my instinct, my kind of, I have to act from instinct. Like, literally the first thing that comes up. If somebody tells me to make a decision, that first thought that comes into my head, that's the thing I got to pay attention to. That's my inner authority. For somebody who has splenic inner authority, then that means their deeper intuition that they just naturally need to tap into and not fight. Jovian Archive, Jovian, and then archive, one word. Reflector here. We wait for the moon. Haha. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So reflectors have a very it's interesting because you have to, and you're right. It does have a lot to do with moon and moon cycles and moon energy as well. Oh, no problem, Joanne. So it's kind of this. Reflector energy, it's like, because there is no technical inner authority, it's just, so the case is, then it becomes, how do you navigate kind of the space around you? And what you end up being reflecting back with the people that you're working with, what is that teaching you about what's going on around you? So that's different. But I don't think I've gotten anybody yet in all the human design charts I've done that has anything like the head as their inner authority. Usually it's all of these other things that are actually going to tell you the truth about a situation before your logical mind is going to, which is interesting. Our outcome here is Thoth, okay? So Thoth is spiritual healing. Thoth, to me, when this card comes up on a spiritual level, this is about things happening at the right time, okay? So this is, again, just kind of what I said earlier. The messages I've been getting, it's saying, a change needs to happen, a sacrifice needs to be made. We need to look at the authority of the feminine, and this means we've got to, make changes, wake up, burn up what's not needed, be inspired to do what's right. Okay, And the reason we're being inspired to do this now is because we're doing this at the right time. There's something about this. Thoth comes up a lot in people, especially when I have people, for example, who haven't been in a relationship in a long time, and they're like, when am I going to have a relationship again? Or they meet somebody and they want to know what's going to go on. And if I get questions like that, then if I get Thoth, I'm like, it's going to happen at the right time. If I get Nepothist, then it says, maybe not this person or maybe not now. But if I get Thoth, it's just kind of like the right thing's going to come in at the right time, right? It's that kind of energy. And that's what this is saying. This is the right time for this change to be occurring. And certainly we can look at what's happening around us in the world and see that things have, month of July, a lot of things changed very, very suddenly. And I remember doing readings back in April or May where they just said July is going to be pivotal, July is going to be pivotal, and August is going to be pivotal. Like literally throughout this fall, it just seems like there's going to be one pivotal change after another. And I'm not just talking about like politics or anything like that. It just seems like there's a lot of shifts and changes and pivotal things that are moving us in different directions. I am going to do our Osho Zen reading, but I want to see what we have in the runes today. Oh wow, that's a nice one to get. Let's see. All right. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so our first one is Wunjo, which is the rune of joy. So this is a nice one. This is the lovely thing. One of the things about Wunjo is, that a new, as they put it, and I think as Ralph Blum put it, like something lovely emerges from the depths. Like this is something very beautiful that's coming in. Like I love to get Wunjo as an outcome because I'm like, oh, that's like saying everything. You're going to suddenly see the whole picture, and you're going to see what stays and what goes. And we have it with Hagalaz. Okay, now Hagalaz is the rune. This is the Uranus rune. This is the rune of disruption. Okay, so in other words, this disruption is going to allow us to see clearly. I mean, the other side of it, we have Soelu, which is the rune of the sun. It's a solar rune. And it's, again, there's the idea of shedding more light on some things and withdrawing other things. So really, it's kind of like these, I don't even know if I can hold them up like this. The three of them together, it's kind of like you've got on either side of Hagalaz, the disruption is going to bring about the clarity. It's going to bring about the beautiful thing. It's going to bring about joy. But we have the ox rune. We have Uruz. And Uruz is saying, this is actually feminine strength. This is very strong Taurian kind of energy almost. But it's the idea of opportunity. Something will be lost, but it's going to be an opportunity to do something new. Okay? So that's kind of energy that we have here. And I think that kind of fits in with a lot of the others. So let's just do our Zen reading today and see what we get. By the way, the Chiron class is filling up. I think I'm up to 5 people right now. Usually get about 5, 6, 7 people who get it. So if anybody still wants to register for that who hasn't, that's going to be still a couple days to do it. But I do have about, I think, 5 people right now. That'll be a good class. I got to finish the notes for that today. Okay. Now, what's interesting is all except for one card. Very excited for the Chiron class. I have to inbox you. I keep forgetting. Yeah, okay. No worries, Joanne, when you get to it. And I know you were interested in the intuitive class. That starts on the 25th. I now actually have that up. Let me just say something about the intuitive development class. That one, I've set it up so that you can pay as, you can do like a single payment where you can pay for all 10 weeks at one price that's like, gives you like $50 off. Or you can just pay week by week that you show up. Because I've done that with intuitive development classes where it's just like, I don't necessarily turn up every week it's offered because maybe I can't, maybe I'm busy, this Sunday I can't, whatever. So the days I show up, I would just pay for the days I show up. So I've kind of arranged it that way. So if people just say, oh, well, I can't come next week, but I'll come this week and I'll just pay to come this week. Then we'll do it that way. Because I try to make each class not like that one has to build on the other, but more that we can kind of do them each independently and talk about things. So just want to mention that because I haven't been advertising that one a lot. I'm trying to do things in order, I guess is kind of what it is. Okay. So we have almost all major arcana, and then we have another, and we have the master card. So we've got this again. This is literally like the Buckle of Isis. This is the Hanged Man. This is energy. This is the New Vision card. Okay, So we have new vision. This is a new way of looking at things, okay? We are being shown something in its heights and in its depths, okay? We're being shown the big picture. What the problem is this Eight of Swords energy. Either we start reevaluating and saying, oh, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, or our mind just gets in a tangle and gets us knotted up thinking either the worst about everything or thinking, we get this idea about things that is just the mind coming in and messing things up, basically. But the external feeling of which we are aware, this is the Death card, this is transformation. Okay? We are transforming. Okay? We are moving into this new space. I always love this version of the Death card. I think it's really, really pretty. We are moving into a different space. And this is a major arcana. So, like I said, when you have majors, this is that change that comes in because it's the right time. It comes in, and it's just something that happens, and we work with what happens here. And yeah, we're moving towards this. Is a temperance energy. This is integration. Okay, that's the advice. We're integrating things. You don't want to get yourself mentally stuck in the past. Okay, you don't want to get mentally stuck in shaming patterns, in what ifs, but I did this, maybe I shouldn't. Just drop the mind here. This is what it's basically saying. And with guilt, okay, if you feel that perhaps you made a mistake in something, basically what that card says is everybody makes mistakes. Like, it's fine. You could go off course and do the wrong thing for a while and think, oh, I went off course and did the wrong thing. Don't feel guilty. It happens. Stuff happens. And you will, if you take the wrong road, you'll eventually find your way back in onto what's the right road for you. Okay? So integration. This is about taking all of our experiences. It gets back to what I say about the fact that we are not here to just, everything's just going to be happy and go smoothly all of the time. All of our experiences, all of our range of emotions, everything that we deal with is part of who we are. And all of that needs to be celebrated and integrated into who we are. If you can't handle life, if you can only handle life when things are all happy and going your way, and let's be fair, that's when it's easiest for us to do like spiritual practices. That's when it's easiest for us to get on. If other people have issues, it's easy to go, oh well, it's just we can be very kind of Pollyanna and joyful about it when those kind of things happen. But the reality is that we have a mixture of experiences. Some days are going to be good and other days are not. There's just certain things that things kind of go in cycles. You have ups and you have downs, they wave through. And so when we have those bad days, we can't just say, well, life is terrible, Pollyanna. Yeah, you have people like that. That is where you get into the spiritual bypassing and spiritual shaming, where your life isn't the way you want it to be because you're just thinking too many negative thoughts. Well, that's rubbish. We're integrated. It's a balance of all things, and it's not literally. I think a lot of times when people think of a balance, it's like, oh, okay, I have 50% this and 50% this. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like I said, it's like the Leminskit. It works like that infinity sign. You're going to flow from one into the other continuously, and it's not necessarily think about anything. Okay, think about anything that we have. There was a comic it was a PhD comic about how you think your PhD is going to go, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to research this and this. It's like this straight line. It's how it actually goes, and you're like, first you're here, then you're back here, then you're all the way up here, then you're 10 steps back here. That's really how things go. It's not. There's no linear process here. Well, I did this, now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do this. If your whole life goes like that, then probably someone else is pulling the strings. Mine's shaped like a lightning bolt. Yeah, well, it's interesting. Our life path is just it can go all over the place, like I said. And then there's a lot of people who have said to me, like, well, I'm not ready to start all over again. And it's kind of like, but sometimes you do. I understand when people have reached a certain point, they're like, oh, now I don't want to think about learning something all over again or doing something all over again. Well, but that's the way life is. Things do happen like that. Our outcome card today is the Master. Okay. Now I typically get this one when, when I visit my guru, because she's the Master, right? But the Master, it could be, all of us have our own Master, right? Whoever we look to as a spiritual mentor, whoever, or our own internal mentors, our own guides, our own, everybody whoever informs you, okay? This is the master. So when the master shows up, and again, it's technically like a card outside of, some of these decks have a card that's outside the 22 majors, but this is not a minor arcana either. This is the idea that you are being guided towards integration. You're guided towards new vision. You're being guided towards your transformation. Okay, we're all transforming right now. There's a lot that's going on for people, and but the thing that may be upsetting or blocking or causing anxiety is this. Okay, and this is the only minor arcana in here, and so it's just basically saying like, yeah, this is a point at which you want to drop that. I can tell you that there are situations, and I know I've talked about them before, so I won't talk about them again, but you can get into a situation where everything goes so poorly, like one thing after another. I think I explained how defending my master's thesis went, and that all the nonsense that went on around that. But literally at the end, after one day after another of one like catastrophe after another, with my husband at the time, with my friends around me, friends, dying, friends, friends' fathers dying, and then all of a sudden other people like had their house. I mean, it was just all of a sudden destruction. And then I had a thesis advisor who hadn't bothered to read my thesis for 9 months and decided 4 days before the deadline that I had to start over again. Okay. I was literally at a point where I was just like losing my shit. I was just, but literally I had cleared my space on my calendar to sit down and start the rewriting process. My boss had given me a few days off so I could sit down. And I remember just staring at my laptop and closing it and then just going out for ice cream, because I was just like, you just reach a point where you just give up. Like I can just, you can, everything just piles on, and finally you just kind of have to laugh at it. It's kind of absurd. And that's what I've said to people too. You can mentally put yourself, and at some point you've just got to let the mind go. You need to stop trying to plan. It's like the guy in the fencing guy that Alan Watts talks about, who's like, constantly looking, and at some point it's like, okay, the master's going to come out and beat me with his stick. Who cares? And that's the point where you relax the mind, where you let go of the mind. I'm getting pummeled this retro. It's an understatement. I said F it and went to the river yesterday. Yeah, I saw your pictures. They were very nice. Yeah, well, exactly. You reach a point where you're just kind of like, okay, you can only, it's like seeing a brick wall in front of you and saying, I'm determined to smash that with my forehead, and I'm going to smash my head against it over and over again. And I mean, really the only thing you end up with is a bloody forehead. It's not, you're not, even if you're trained in that kind of martial arts that breaks, and supposed to break stuff with the chi or whatever, like you're not going to break through the wall that way. Don't use your head to try to break through the wall. So, yeah, and so all you can do is just say, okay, well, this is what's going on right now. Perfect analogy, yeah, because that's just what it is. And again, this is something I'm hearing about family, friends, clients. It's just, there's this kind of, why is this like this? Why is this, why am I running into this? I'm so frustrated. Why can't this person be this way? Why can't this do this way? What are you gonna do? You can't control other people. Can't control other people. You can only. That's what they always say, is like the only thing you can do is decide how you're going to respond to it. And yeah, we may have an initial frustration response, and at some point you're just kind of like, whatevs. You just kind of have to go to a point, you go, okay, it's just going to be what it's going to be. So anyway, that's our little readings for today and my little Azrael update. I hope that was interesting, enlightening. I do look forward to seeing, I know, Alex, you're going to be there on Saturday, and I know there's at least a couple of the people on this live stream who's going to be there on Saturday as well. Of course, this is all remote via Zoom. Oh, you're welcome. And yeah, and I should be here tomorrow morning. I do have Rouhani clients tonight and tomorrow, but, and I do have to go get my hair done tomorrow, actually. But yeah, but I will be back on tomorrow morning. So all of you have a great rest of your... Today's Thursday, right? Yep. Great rest of your Thursday, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.